Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers here who are watching this program of CTET Guidance by Dr. Yakaiah and Team. So here I am again with the new session on the science pedagogical issues. I hope that you are understanding the pedagogical issues of the previous sessions, what I was dealing with different chapters of science pedagogical issues related to the nature, structure of science, and aims and objectives of science education, and understanding and appreciating of science. Okay, so we have seen all these three sessions, and now next we are going to see with the next session today. Hope you enjoy the learning and hope you enjoy the session as well. And I really look forward for you all to see to it that you are keep learning with my sessions of science pedagogical issues. Okay, so I'm going to start with the session here. This is the PPT now, which I'm sharing to you all. I hope it is able to be viewed clearly.
Yes,
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, sir, for the feedback. And let us go and start. Yes, this is the Science Pedagogy CTET Guidance by Dr. Yakaiah and Team. Welcome all once again. And let us start with the next chapter in your syllabus, that is approaches and the integrated approach. So here we are going to understand the different approaches of science and the integrated approach. So the approach we are going to see first under the approaches of science teaching, and especially we are going to focus upon the integrated approach as well. But apart from this integrated approach, there are various other approaches of science teaching. So before we directly pinpoint and focus on the integrated approach, we are going to see what all the other approaches of science teaching are. Number one, we have here the inductive approach. Number two, deductive approach. 3, heuristic approach. 4, constructivist approach. 5th, here we have collaborative learning approach. 6th, problem solving approach. 7th, inquiry approach. 8th, disciplinary approach. And 9th, we are having here integrated approach. Yes, I have kept it at the last, that is our integrated approach, because until unless you do not understand all the first 8 approaches, you won't be able to understand the integrated approach. So it is extremely important to first understand these approaches, which is also very important, and the questions in the CTET may come from all these approaches as well, because it is not been specified in your CTET syllabus that which approaches do you need to learn, and it is just said as approaches / integrated approach. So there are various approaches also included in this CTET science syllabus, and we are going to proceed further with understanding the first approach, that is the inductive approach. So let us first begin like what exactly do we mean by the term approach, method, or strategy or technique. Okay, so before beginning, I'm going to just give an introductory slides here about what exactly do we mean by approach, what is the meaning of method or strategy, and what is the meaning of technique here. So approach, as I said here, approach is used. Okay, so like for example here, the my approach would be like an a broader sense, like I'm giving classes online. So this is an online approach towards teaching science pedagogy. Now if I go with the next one, that is method or strategy. So method or strategy, it is traditionally termed as method, and in now contemporary times we are terming it as strategy. So what is the meaning of it? A method originates from an approach. So the method what we are going to pick up, or we are going to select for teaching a particular topic, is nothing but a method, and it is coming up from the approach, the direction which we teach, and then what method we are using here. Then strategy means selection of suitable pedagogical process by means of using appropriate techniques, such that all these lie in the realm of the approach the teacher chooses to follow. So here a method originates from an approach. So a method is coming from an approach, and this method or the strategy, it means that we are selecting suitable pedagogical processes by means of using appropriate techniques. So method also includes here different techniques, and so that all these lie in a particular realm of approach. So what approach we are using, and then in the combination of that approach we are using a particular method, and in the combination of that method we are using a technique. And these methods could be scientific method or a discovery method. Like this, we have different methods. We are like a lecture method, lecture cum demonstration method, which we use in science. Now next we go with the term technique. So what is the meaning of technique here? It is mainly concerned with the classroom activity. So what a teacher does in the classroom, what type of activities does she provide to the students, nothing but it is technique. Techniques are relatively flexible and easy to implement. It should substantiate the procedural details of the particular method employed. So whatever the technique that we are using, it should be seen that it is flexible. We are using number of techniques. Like for example, sometimes we are making the students brainstorm on a particular topic or an idea, and likewise we give the students to do some kind of a discussions among themselves, and to provide them to give them the instructions of doing some kind of model making, or to give them the instructions of seminars and presentations and concept mapping. So all these are things, but becomes the technique. So there are various techniques available, and a teacher is flexible to choose whichever technique fits best, like different techniques what we have here. And then to see to it that she implements this technique successfully in the classroom, so that the objective of the teaching of the lesson gets accomplished. Okay, so it also substantiates the procedural details of a particular method. So the method which we are using, depending upon the method, which techniques suits best for that particular method, and how well the method gets successful in a particular kind of class in teaching the particular topic. So that is what is the method. And then while we go with a particular method, we also go with a technique also involved in it, so that our program, our kind of teaching program gets successful at the end, and we achieve the objective. So these are the different meanings of approach, method, and technique. So now we are going to start with the first approach, that is inductive approach in science. Okay, so what is inductive approach? It leads pupils from particular situations to generalizations. It proceeds from concrete to abstract principles. So like for example, we are moving from something which is very concrete, and we are going to abstract. It means that from specific to generalization. So from specific things we are moving towards the general things. Okay, so that is what is from concrete to abstract. So we have a particular specific thing, like for example, fruit. I give an example of a fruit. So if I say that mango is a fruit, so then I'm just trying to tell students what all other examples can be included in the category of fruits. So they will say like grapes, apple, oranges. Okay, so number of different names of the fruits come in. So here what happens is that from a concrete example, from a concrete idea, the students are moving further in trying to accommodate all the different types of fruits under the category of fruits. Okay, so that is what we are moving from concrete to the abstract concepts, what all other items fall into the category of the fruits. Okay, so this is what is inductive approach, and the steps under it is like sense the problem, analyze the problem, organize the information, arriving at a suitable solution, and verify the solution. So first is here sense the problem. We try to, if any problem comes into our contact, what we do is that we sense the problem first, what exactly the problem is. We try to analyze the problem, like how this problem has, like analyze, as I've already discussed in the previous sessions, it means that we are breaking down the different bits of information, and we are analyzing each and every bit of information separately. That is what is we are analyzing the problem as a whole, and then we are organizing the information like from each of the different bits of the problem, and we are arriving to a particular solution which is more suitable, and then we are trying to see to it that how this solution can be verified with respect to the particular problem. So these are the different steps under inductive approach. And what are the merits of this approach? The first and most important merit is that it recognizes the importance of science. It develops interest, scientific attitude, scientific thinking among the pupils, and it enhances scientific knowledge and skills of observation and critical and intelligent thinking. Fourth, it develops self-confidence and self-dependence. Fifth, most important, that is, it is based on learning by doing principle. Okay, so these are the different merits of inductive approach. First of all, it gives us the importance of science. It develops a scientific attitude, interest, thinking, and because we are moving from specific to the more and more general, so that's the reason that we are proceeding further in science knowledge, and we are trying to use different types of skills like observation, experimentation, critical thinking, and intelligent or logical reasoning thinking, and we are trying to have our self-confidence, that we are gaining confidence that we are correct at the particular point, and we are moving further in gaining more and more knowledge about science. And as we do an activity or perform an experiment, we are learning something out of it. So it is something but learning by doing. Now we also have demerits for each and every approach. So here the demerits of inductive approach is it's a slow and lengthy process. It is time consuming, and it cannot be applied to all the topics of the science, because all the topics cannot be studied under just one approach, that is inductive approach. And it's insufficient data leads to hasty and wrong conclusions. Sometimes some information is very less, and because if the information is less and if it is insufficient, we cannot just lead to conclusions, and conclusions need to be verified by deductive methods. So because many of the conclusions which we make out from this inductive approach, again it has to be verified by the deductive methods. Okay, so that's the reason that these are the all becomes the demerits of inductive approach. Now proceeding further, we also understand what is deductive approach then. So the completely opposite of inductive approach becomes the deductive approach. So here pupils lead from general to particular situations, that is it proceeds from abstract to concrete principles. So abstract again means it is general, concrete means it is again specific. So from general to specific. Okay, so from general to particular situations. So how they lead here, like for example, we give a general example and we move further and further to be more and more specific in the solution of a particular problem. So some kind of generalizations are there, and then we try to make it more and more specific over there. And here the steps of it are, first of all, to understand the problem, collecting information on the problem, what the problem is, reviewing the principles and generalizations. So depending upon the information, we try to review what principles and what generalizations has been accommodated depending upon the problem, and then we try to draw conclusions from it. And then lastly, we try to verify the solutions. So these all becomes the steps of deductive approach. Like any problem is being occurred over there, so we are just trying to see in the, what problem is that, how to understand the problem, what according to that problem is, and what information we require to understand that problem, and then depending upon that information, how we are trying to review the principles and generalizations, and then we try to draw conclusions from it and verify the solutions. Most probably, deductive approach is used in the logical reasoning, basically in the mathematics. In the subject mathematics, we do a lot of deductive approaches where from the generalizations and the principles, we try to bring out different laws and different formulas, and we apply that formulas in solving a mathematical problem, and then we come to a particular conclusion, and then we try to verify that whether our answer is correct or not. Okay, so we have different kinds of arithmetic, and we have different kinds of geometric principles and generalizations. So these laws and generalizations are checked in, are understood with respect to the problem given, and then we are applying it. We try to gather the information, we are applying the principles and generalizations, and then trying to drive the solution of that problem, and then verify the solution. Okay, so hope you are understanding it. And let us see what are the merits of this approach. The first is it is suitable for primary classes, provides the get ready material, saves time, and it supplements induction. Again, it is supplementing the inductive approach. That is induction. We can try to increase the knowledge from this deductive approach. Again, we can try to expand our knowledge. And fourth, it is very effective if used as an inductive deductive approach. So one approach cannot be used independently. We cannot only use inductive approach and continue to be in the inductive approach, nor we can use deductive approach for teaching all the topics of science. So how we can try to do this is that we are trying to amalgamate both inductive and deductive approaches. We are going to mix both, and then we are going to apply it to certain concepts and to certain topics of science. Now here again, the merit is it makes completion of syllabus easy. Yes, deductive approach, it makes the completion of syllabus easy. Like for example, a teacher teaches multiplication in the class, and then she tries to gives out the examples and the way to do the multiplication problems, and then she gives some problems as homework. Then the child tries to apply that multiplication, the rules and the laws of it, and then they will try to perform multiplication. So this is what it makes the completion of syllabus easy, that they are able to do it, and then they're applying that formulas, and they're able to solve the problems out. So it makes the completion of the syllabus easy, and it is effective if it is used as inductive and deductive approach, and it provides a get ready material that we can just try to solve out all the problems. Most probably deductive approaches are used in many of the competitive exams where they are trying to deduce the solution from the varied solutions, and then they try to solve many different problems in a short period of time. Okay, and yes, it is suitable for primary classes so that they try to understand from generalizations to the specific knowledge. So most probably it is also used for the primary classes. Okay, so let us see what are the demerits of this. It is an unnatural method. Pupils don't use any method to find out the facts and concepts themselves. It does not impart any training in scientific methodology or scientific attitude. It does not develop thinking skills, self-confidence, or initiative in the student, and it only encourages memorization of facts. Okay, so it is not a natural method where they are proceeding from specific knowledge to the to the general knowledge, and they try to go in opposite direction in otherwise, and they are trying to see to it that they are just trying to learn. They're trying to learn the things, what are the specific concepts, but pupils don't use any method. They don't use any method to find out or to discover or to explore any facts or concepts by themselves, and it does not impart any training in scientific methodology and scientific attitude. Thereby it does not develop any self confidence and thinking skills, and it only encourages the memorization of fact. That is, rote learning is possible through the deductive approach. Now next we see here a topic that is a question here. about the particular science pedagogy, the CTET examination in the year 2014 in the month of September. A question has asked here: the topic separation of substances in class 6 can be taught most effectively by which one? By which of the following? Okay, so the first option given here is in-depth explanation of related concepts, using hands-on activities to be performed by students, using good home assignments, organizing more group discussions on different subtopics. So among the four options, which is the best option, which is the right answer for this question? So here the topic separation of substances, like separation of different substances in class 6th, can be taught most effectively by in-depth explanation of related concepts, using hands-on activities, using good home assignments, organizing more group discussions on different subtopics. So at this class 6, if you want to teach this topic, it would be most probably by using hands-on activities, because in-depth explanation again would not give much knowledge, and home assignments are not beneficial. Apart from that, organizing more group discussions on different subtopics will not give a clear idea. So it's important that to separate the different substances, it is important that they do some activity on it and then try to see that how the separation happens. So this is the option, that is using hands-on activities to be performed by students. Okay, now next, proceeding further, the third approach, that is the heuristic approach. So this approach, advocated by Professor H.E. Armstrong, derived from the Greek word heuriskein. Heuristic approach, the word heuristic has been derived from the word, that is the Greek word heuriskein, which means to discover, and based on the principle of learning by doing. So this approach is based on the principle of learning by doing. So H.E. Armstrong, in his own words, he defined heuristic method as a method of teaching which involves our placing the students as far as possible in the attitude of a discoverer. So now the child becomes a discoverer here, and the essential conditions of implementing this approach is: the first one, that is, it provides freedom of action, it provides a responsive environment, it provides an encouragement to learn, it provides teachers guidance whenever required. So these are the essential conditions. Like first of all, it is giving us a free way of doing our own activities, what we want to do in order to explore something, some idea, some phenomena. And then it provides a responsive environment, like they can go on to with the field trips and they can try to go into the natural environment, breaking down the four walls of the classroom. And it also tries to encourage the learner, and it is something like we try to get encouragement to learn more and more while we go into the natural habitat. And it provides teachers guidance whenever required. So whenever the child requires, teachers are available to guide them. Next, we see that the heuristic approach has different principles. That is very important. And the first is, it is the principle of learning by doing. Second is the principle of freedom of activity. Third, principle of logical thinking. Fourth, principle of experience. Fifth, principle of individual work. So these are the 5 different principles which comes under the heuristic approach. Okay, then next we have here, what is the role of teacher in heuristic approach? It encourages the process of searching. See, a teacher tries to encourage the process of searching. Teacher tries to respect creative thinking, welcomes new ideas, develops skills and values, different science skills like observation and experimentation, and kind of different science skills, and tries to develop all such values like moral values and all that, aesthetic values, intellectual value. Then it emphasizes on individual learning and problem solving. So this heuristic approach tries to emphasize on individual learning, one-to-one learning, and then it tries to see with that how they are trying to solve their problems, and it corrects and checks the mistakes. Teachers are available to correct and check their mistakes, and teachers act as facilitators, and they facilitate in drawing conclusions and generalizations. And questioning helps when the teacher tries to question, it helps them to determine the level of understanding in the student. So questioning becomes an important aspect in heuristic approach. Whenever the child tries to do any activity and takes up any kind of a project of discovering any phenomena, teacher always tries to question that what are they doing and how they are doing, so that the child gets to know that up to where they are able to learn and where they are encountering the problems or obstacles, and teachers are there to facilitate them, help them and guide them. And then next we see about the merits of heuristic approach. Here emphasis is on individual practical work, and it gives the student of self-reliance. So the student is independent. If the student relies upon himself or herself in trying to discover the knowledge, and here it develops scientific attitude, scientific methodology, and scientific attitude. It develops inquiry and investigation, critical thinking and logical reasoning, and pupils work on their own pace as per the individual differences. So as you know that every child does not have the same capability of being a discoverer, because some students are are very brighter, and they could do this kind of approach, and they could take up any kind of a discovery or undergo the heuristic approach in understanding any topic of the science. But whereas the students who are not much alert and not much as bright, but they could try to do some other activities which is being very much fit according to their level and according to their capability. So it tries to work on according to the pace and the individual differences. The teacher can try to identify these children, and according to their strengths and weaknesses can provide the different projects and activities. And next we see the demerits of heuristic approach. Here it demands a lot of time, money and infrastructure. It is applied to only small classes where students are in limited number, and it emphasizes on practical scientific skills rather than attaining the theoretical knowledge of science. And then evaluation is done by it is a very lengthy process where the evaluation is done. So here evaluation of any learning, how far the student has learned the concept, is a very lengthy process and needs to be again evaluated step by step. So this is again with respect to the heuristic approach. Here we got a question on this, that is, which of the following approaches adopted by a science teacher reflects scientific temper on her part? This has come in the year 2014 with CTET in the month February. So among the four options, the first option is encouraging students to ask questions in the classroom. Second, preparing difficult question papers to enhance learning. Third, maintaining perfect discipline in the class. Fourth, covering the prescribed syllabus as quickly as possible. So among the four, which was the which approach adopted by a science teacher reflects scientific temper? So whether it is to encourage students to ask questions, prepare difficult question paper so that they enhance learning, maintaining perfect discipline in the class, covering prescribed syllabus. So I don't think so that they require perfect discipline. So because perfect discipline will not have scientific temper, and usually covering the syllabus is also not possible to get the scientific temper among the students. So then difficult question papers, no. Encouraging students to ask questions, yes. When the teacher encourages students to ask number of questions in the class, and when the questioning is happening in the class, questioning and answering session is happening in the class, it definitely tries to develop the scientific temper, because children will be asking questions out of their curiosity, and teachers will be able to try to make sure that they are able to answer their questions. Okay, then the first is the option for this question. Moving further, we have here the fourth approach, that is the constructivist approach. This is advocated by Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky in the and also National Curriculum Framework in the year 2005 have strongly recommended this approach, and this approach is based on the principle of constructing one's own knowledge. Here, knowledge is actively constructed, invented, created, or discovered. It is based on learners' conceptual structures and prior experiences. So how the child will use his or her previous knowledge, previous experiences, and how a child will try to make their own concepts. The learners are constantly constructing and reconstructing their cognitive structures